My name is Sean Bradford. Hi. I live in Berlin, Germany, and New York. I grew up in Texas. I'm like a nomadic dance music singer, former Broadway actor, maybe will be not former again.
Oh, wow. So you're thinking about going back to Broadway?
I don't know. I had to call back like the 2 days before we went on like the first kind of lockdown, or like before everything closed. So like that was part of my fall goal or 2020 goals. And we'll see when that arises again. I mean, I think that's going to be a long road to like open. Like, I don't know if they're opening in the fall or when, but yeah, why not? I really like it. I love theater. It's cool.
That's amazing. Well, I reached out to you again after you had reached out to me, because when I listen to your music, I think Madonna, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, and just 80s pop, soul, funk, disco, and it makes me want to dance.
Cool.
So can you talk a little bit about your style of music? Because the feelings that I get, I'm not entirely sure if those are the feelings that you're trying to portray or if you have another genre in mind.
No, yeah. I mean, I think the goal, like the original goal was always like to make something that makes like my worlds, which is like growing up, obviously in America with like pop music and like all the people you named being like crushing it in front of us and like doing really creative stuff growing up. And then like sort of my really big sort of love affair with dance music that started later in life, and like the sort of community and vibe that exists around that. So yeah, I mean, I guess that was what I was trying to make to start, like this dance meets pop world. And now I'm starting to work on my own stuff a bit more, producing, and the goal with that is that it's going to be more dance with like just a sprinkle of pop. Mm-hmm. So like but definitely down that rabbit hole. I mean, it was like the goal is like for it to be fun and like for people to feel like free and sexy and confident, and yeah, that's kind of been the goal.
Yeah, one of your songs, I think it's the last one that you put out. What was it? Break
Frail and Broken Hearts Club?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Send me a postcard of better days, 'cause I just can't take another burning broken heart.
That one, when I started listening to it, it reminded me of, do you know that song Music by Madonna?
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah,
that song.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of that, and I just have this very clear image of my mother pulling me into the kitchen when I was little and just swinging me around dancing to Madonna. And so it was amazing to even think about the songs, because I'm not typically listening. I mean, I love Madonna, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. I love all of those artists still, but that's not something that I listen to regularly. And your music just invokes these feelings of wanting to get out on the dance floor and dance to something out there.
Cool. No, yeah, it's like perfect for right now. Now you can dance around your apartment or on your Zoom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did you get started as an artist? So you said that you had started on Broadway, but were you a singer before then?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right, like not everyone, but like a lot of times growing up, you're studying arts in school, some version of that. So I first played the violin, and then at some point the school like discovered I could sing, and so like I switched into choir, and I was singing in that form, but never like, oh, I'm gonna do music. Like, I didn't actually even think about music until like I was maybe 3 years into living in New York, and I did some gig, and this guy was just like, you should do your own music. And so then I was like down a hole of like trying to figure out what that was, because coming from theater, like you're always putting on characters and like singing, but like it's not necessarily like your authentic voice, which is, I guess, the point of music, right? Like you want to at least like share what it is, who you are. Mm-hmm. So that was like how it got into this rabbit hole of like the dance component. But yeah, I guess I was always singing. But I definitely wasn't making music. So like that was like a whole process of learning what it's like to like make a song, like a song that you listen to in like headphones.
So when did you start songwriting?
I guess like 10 years ago. Like I was doing I started like trying, I would say, around then.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get your inspiration from for your music?
It depends. Like, it's really interesting right now because right now I'm in like right before this, my goal. I was actually about to throw a party in Williamsburg at Kinfolk, and it was going to be kind of like an immersive dance experience combining like live performance and DJ sets with like immersive visuals, and like my friends who are like architects who they were going to activate the space with kind of like sort of like just like a really cool sort of mix of like a club plus like contemporary art, but like trying to go that way, but like also kind of hard. Like, so I've been like, okay, well, once that's up, like, what does that music sound like? What's the music that's coming with Bradford, which is this project.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically speaking to your idea of fun, but like really trying to gear it towards like, this is for like to be played out for like, I guess workouts are also when you play kind of dance music too, but like really trying to make more like sort of songs that could also fit in an environmental space, a festival space or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now I'm getting really inspired by making drums and then like letting them kind of dictate the emotional journey in, because when I was writing and kind of like, I guess like co-producing or like at least only doing the vocal production, really like co-producing the tracks, but not like at like what I'm doing now, I would definitely try to start from like a place of what is the story, what am I trying to tell, like what is the sort of like top line melody.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm going in from like really from the reversing it, like the build, I'm trying to like be inspired by what actually happens in the creation process instead of like preempting. I mean, I guess I'm going a bit like, oh, I want it to be 80s and fun, and I think when this is over, like it would be nice to be out with people at some point, like that those first moments of being like with a lot of people somewhere and a good energy, I think will be like really special. So I guess trying to make some music for that moment too. Mm-hmm. Like what that could be, what that sounds.
How has the coronavirus affected your music making?
Well, it definitely has like shifted my focus now to production. So I'm really excited about kicking my own self about that and like trying to release something. I'm not gonna say what that is yet because I have a couple ideas, but it's like I don't know how good it is actually. You know, it's like this is like the time where it's like this curve will take longer, even though I guess I've been producing for some years, like just really when it's ready. But so like that's basically what I'm focused on at the moment, which is just like getting up, learning stuff I don't know, trying to retain it in my brain, make something new. And so like I have a collection of, I don't know, like 40 loops, like between like 30 to like 2.5 minutes. I made maybe 40 in like the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
And I'm gonna sit with them, I guess this weekend. Maybe I'll do it as an Instagram live. I'm just not sure yet. And like kind of like have people help me narrow it down to like the top 3 or 4 and maybe try to build an EP out of that. But yeah, that's all. I basically sit and like make music all day. I mean, I kind of haven't, I think it's weird. Like at the beginning I was also like, I'm gonna fucking live stream every day. And like we made this really cool thing, QuaranTube, and I like think there's some special moments that like will still happen with that. But like already I was like, okay, live streaming in this capacity feels like it's something I want to do as special moments every once in a while, rather than just trying to like show up every day to be like proof of life, so almost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yes, you did. Thank you. And can you talk a little bit about your backstory? So how you got onto Broadway, and then what your transition was like from going from Broadway to becoming a full-time artist and potentially going back to Broadway?
So like, I mean, basically I went to like Northwestern I majored in theater, but like it's a really pretty, it's like a liberal arts school where you take 2/3 outside your major. So it was like very focused on not that. And you actually have to apply and get in like everybody else. That's something I always like people like times. But sorry, I'm just moving.
No worries.
So that was like first time, like walking. I forgot I had something going.
Full tour.
I know, right? So that was like kind of the prep, and then I had like my, at school they prepare you for that, and then at some point, like you go to New York and you get your agent, and then you kind of like start auditioning, and then you get it. Like it felt really surreal because it happened like, I don't know, it was like 21 essentially. So It was like all very quick, like the ethic working for it. Like I definitely was working hard and really worked hard at it, but that was sort of like that end. So then you were there and you're kind of like, what do you do? What do I do? Well, depending on what your show you're in, but like my first show was The Lion King, which is like a very long, like it's still running. So basically you can kind of decide when you leave, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, what am I going to do? And then that was when I I don't know, I just started having like experiences that were touching that. Like I ran a non-for-profit in South Africa. And that was really like you're just touching music a lot when you're there, especially. So that like kind of maybe it was like a soft influence as well. And at some point, I mean, basically it was like I was performing. This guy in the bathroom came in and was like next to me peeing, and he was like, you should sing, like try to be a singer. And then I kind of took that with me, and I was doing my second show about to come in, and I got replaced. So I was like, okay, well, it was the first time that I saw like careers don't happen linearly. Mm-hmm. Like it was the first time, and it was like not of my own volition. Like I didn't consciously walk away from that situation. I was like let go of that situation, which obviously is something that happens in life and changes your path a bit. So then I had this sort of free moment, and it was like, okay, well, great. So why don't I try music? Because like I'll never get to try it if I don't try it now. It's a great gap in time. Like I was young, but like in that weird age where like there aren't that many roles for you, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's so fun to play roles when you're young, and like when you start to be an adult. But in like that middle, yeah. So I was like, okay, this is a good time. I can like go whatever. So that was kind of like the transition into music, and then that. Like I feel like I was trying to build like pop meets dance, and I didn't know fucking anything at the beginning. And I was like, I went to LA, and like that was like, it was like, you should be a singer songwriter, and I was like, no, I don't want to. That's not what I want. Like I mean, like that's not like my authentic thing. So then I got to Berlin, and I thought it was going to be kind of an easy, like a shorter process, but it really took like I would say 1.5 to 2 years before I was like making music. And that kind of started to go a bit, like, because you get that first excitement of like, oh, making the first song, and then the first, like your first little, like every milestone is a cool milestone. Mm-hmm. And then I got into the wheel of it, and I released a couple tracks that did like quite good, and then I also started to see the like, okay, now it's like, okay, this is a full-time job, like where there's like that changes like a lot of pieces, like then it changes like it becoming a job. So then that was like, okay, this is interesting. If this is now my full-time job, like where did the X, Y, Z come from? How do I accomplish goals? And especially as an independent, like it's like, oh, you're like, I want to do this 100-city tour, and it's like, okay, like what? So at some point with that, I started taking like, I guess, not like tons of like corporate gigs and things like that, but I just started also like getting offered like lots of money to do corporate gigs where it was like a combination of me doing what I was doing and then maybe singing acoustically with like my guitarist. And then like as that part started to like infiltrate into the pocket of like making it a full-time, I started to think like, okay, well, like this is kind of like me singing other people's songs. Like I could kind of just do that like in a realm where like maybe there's another part of it that I really enjoy, so which like then becomes like the theater activation moment, right? So it's like, okay, you're singing someone else's song, but it's like in a theater, so you're creating character and it's like depth, and it is this whole kind of 360, like it is like, okay, that's something I really enjoy. So I was like, well, what if I could just try to really build those two back, which was kind of the goal anyway, like the return to theater at some point, or at least the return to the audition room, and then also the music thing at the same time, and like building out what that next part looks like. So
you're pretty multifaceted then, because you do the singing, the songwriting, you also act, you are now producing your own music, you're also DJ Cyber Bradford, you do it all.
Yeah, I wish I could say like, oh, I don't do a lot of stuff, but like I do. And I guess now I've just like, at some point it was annoying because like people I think I never want to make anyone feel like I'm like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. It's just kind of like, I think every artist, especially today, you're just doing 90 different things. And like, if you're passionate about certain, like everyone's path is different. Like I was just gonna be an actor. Like I had no concept that I'd be like DJing, let alone like whatever I'm doing. So like, yeah, it's like kind of just like, okay, this came now and this came now, and now it's like, now it's cool to have all of them and try to like really piece them one by one and see what that looks like. But you know, I mean, the theater part will be like, I'm sure, a long process of or hopefully not a long process, but like it'll be a process of like auditioning, and because that's a world that I left like years ago, but also really excited now because I have the music part. I feel like I have ownership and understanding of how that narrative is going. I mean, not ownership because that's like bands and tour, like all the stuff that you have no, you know, like real control over, some, but not real. But like at least where that path is going and like what I wanted to get out of music. And I feel like kind of okay to like continue doing music alongside the reintroduction of like, let's say, the acting.
How did you learn how to structure everything for the business side of your music career?
There's that book that I'm sure everyone has heard about, everything you always know about the music business, the law book. Is that it? Yeah, I forgot. Donald Passman. So it's like, that's like, I guess I had read it like really as a gist, like when I moved to LA for like a very brief stint. But then when I decided this is the time, I picked that back up. I like really read like what's a music business plan, and then I like sat like alone for like 2 days and like made like a 16-page business plan, and like got all the like initial that stuff in a row, so I understood what the beginning parts were. There's obviously so many like moving pieces and things now where like with neighboring rights and blah blah blah, and like really building the team out and like having like temporary team members that can like help achieve like project goals versus like needing like full-time staff, like quote unquote. Like, so I guess I don't, some things I have figured out, but I really haven't. And obviously right now every person who like, even if you're just like releasing like songs on your computer and you don't really like have any like desire to go anywhere with that, are probably still thinking about, well, how do I release music, or like how do I share this with people? So like, so I don't know if I have the business part figured out for what is now or what it will look like now, but I at least just kept reading and researching and redditing is my favorite thing, to get more info to be able to like implement it, or like have a bit more knowledge when I got to that next piece that I needed to deal with or like understand.
Can you talk about some of the challenges and successes that you've had in the industry?
Sure. I guess like successes have been like I got to play at Ministry of Sound, which was super cool in London, and I got to make a mix for them. And I got to like do this really awesome sort of project with Corona for maybe 3 different summers, maybe 4 summers. And that was really cool. And I've had some tracks like do quite okay and like get some playlisting and blogs and like selected and yeah, I guess I have like 14 million streams now. Like there's some cool fans that like exist. Like there's like a model in Hong Kong who's Danish, who's like really into my music, and people that like discovered me along, which is cool to have some sort of like feeling that you're doing something or helping people or giving people like a boost of some, like giving them some sort of an emotional boost.
You have
yeah, go ahead.
You have 4 million streams on Up All Night, which is pretty amazing. I think one of the issues that artists, or I know that first starting off artists have, is that they always wonder, how do I get to that point? What was the process that you had to go through, and how long did it take for you to get up to that amount of streams?
I mean, I think it really depends. Like now, there was also like a window, I think, before playlisting became radio, where like it was just easier for people to discover songs and to find stuff because it was less streamlined and the algorithm wasn't like geared towards specific goals. I don't know how this stuff works. I'm just like making part of it, but I also have my own like awareness. So like I think there was a part where it was like there was more, it was easier to like accomplish because it wasn't so like Wild West as it is at the moment, it feels like, because there are also less artists, like with less ability to like easily release music. Spent like a lot of money and time like on like things that may or may not have worked, like PR. Like I don't really find that PR has worked very well and has proven very expensive. So I guess that could be a challenge, like getting industry awareness, or I guess not necessarily industry, but getting like getting awareness in a larger scale has been like maybe a challenge. With that song, sorry.
Do you mean industry awareness for people to be aware of you as an artist?
Oh yeah, I guess. Sorry, I should have rephrased that. So like that was like it made me think of a challenge when you're talking about challenges. I think the challenge has been like getting PR dollars to equate to actual like value, like like, which is not, obviously they don't. It's like that's like one of the things you first discuss about PR is like that there is no like ROI, like proof of ROI, but at the same time it is like a place where if you can get to like secure like some good influential or influencer awareness about the brand, and it makes it easier for people to discover, and then like that proof of like, right, that it's like, okay, this is cool, I will listen to it now. With the songs that we had, it was like, it's literally like emailing playlists or people, like finding out who they are, trying to convince them to like use to like put your track in their playlist, or working with like other services that charge, but there is no like, it's just, I don't know, it feels really tricky right now. Like I decided right now like to not really focus on any any promotion of trying to grab streams, like get more streams. But I'm thinking like with the new song, for instance, like, well, what would I do? And it's like it's tricky. Like before, like it felt like you could run a Facebook campaign, like a targeted Facebook campaign for like, I mean, you still would spend money. Like, I don't know, we probably spent quite a good amount just to like get it out, but I don't think the ads work in the same way. Like, so I wouldn't say that like that necessarily means people are going to stream more. I don't know. Now it's just really hard. Like I'm thinking for my next projects, luckily they're going to be more sort of like niche focused. So like it will be easier to pitch at some labels for the tracks, and that's kind of like my goal now. I think labels will somehow become more important again. Even like they've never lost importance, but I think in the aftermath of this moment, because you're gonna need like a financial legs to stand on, and like connections that are like pre and post existing that like don't have a time build up on them, and like does that make any sense? It's not like okay, like I'm gonna have to spend a year and a half like with it's like those are relationships that majors will have, and even the indies are in the majors, and it feels like not trying to be on a major label is the solution, but with the playlisting stuff, it's like if you can get any person to help fund the marketing playlisting dollars and or who already have connections that can help leverage to get like your ears on the song, then you can help it grow, because it's mostly just like even if you have like even if there's 40,000 songs a week, like right or day or something, right? So that means like buy New Music Friday on Spotify, that's in theory almost 400,000 songs that are like potentially could be in like up 50 slots, and like it's not even like a roulette wheel, right? It's like okay, well, no one's listening to all of that, not possible. And then like okay, what songs will be listened to, and it's like the ones that people find out about, and like how are they going to find out, right?
What are some other personal challenges that you've experienced?
Like in life in general?
Life and or your music career.
Okay. I mean, music career's been like learning that okay, so like this is a really weird person to bring into the conversation right now, but like Renee Zellweger, was in this movie Judy, which like you can say what you want about it, but I watched it on a plane and thought it was quite good, as most movies you watch on planes are. So I like have no real like bad feelings toward this movie.
I like Judy and I like Renee Zellweger.
She won some award for it, and she was giving her speech, and it was like about how her agents made her remember and realize it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, which is like something we hear a lot, and like it's like, is it cliche? And it's like, no, it's only cliche like at certain times in your life. Like I feel like in the middle, like post-college, pre-senior citizen age, like there's a lot of like things that are going to happen, and ups and downs and like pivots and whatever. So like at the beginning, maybe it felt very like, oh, I'm not getting as far as I wanted to right now, or this didn't happen or that didn't happen, and like really trying like weighing it down as it's like, okay, it's over, like there's no other chances, or like this is now how my path plays out. Like I think a challenge has been getting into a good headspace about that all, and like so that I can like be happy again about just making music, and like the things that I can get to plan and things that I can get to like have control over, and like so that those moments bring a bit more joy there. Personally, like I mean, I don't know, I think going through the realization of race in America was like interesting one, because I grew up very like sort of middle class. My parents both like had very good jobs and like worked really hard, and like it wasn't like we had a ton, but we definitely had everything. Like it was so I grew up in a community that was like quite mixed race, so like it just wasn't a thing. And I went to school with like not very many black people, but also like racism was just not a thing, maybe because there weren't a lot of people of different races. But then as you get older, like racism just becomes around you, because it's so how the world is not even necessarily that where it's like someone is being racist directly towards you. You just see like like walking outside on the street, you just see what racism has done or does, and that kind of stuff is like makes it really difficult to level with my like me feeling comfortable and me feeling truly free. So that has like been like something I've been struggling with, and that's part of why I think I just like decided to stay in Europe, and now I'm definitely like gonna be both. So I think that probably the like not necessarily even me having to deal with it directly, but like the seeing what like being Black or being gay or being other, like seeing other people's reactions to it, and trying to like
accept your own identity, but also
accept your identity, and so that you can like live the life that you want in the midst of a predetermined like sheen that could like change in any moment based on who you're with or talking to or where you are, stuff like this. I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you feel that do you carry that kind of crisis with you in Berlin? Do you feel like you experience the same kinds of feelings when you're in Berlin?
I don't. I think they're not the same. Berlin is tricky because Berlin has its own sort of like energies and like history that exists. But so it's a different feeling. Like I would say I definitely feel calmer, like 1,000%. Not because I'm even anxious here. It's just like it's just a really weird thing to live out because I also don't live it at the same time. So I'm like an outside observer of like the realities of like the things that make up who I am, but that also like have like really weird like places and like play out really weirdly in society as a whole, like a broader sort of like snapshot. Like you think about things like people being killed for their sexuality in places, or like even the racism, right? Like even with coronavirus, it's like, you know, like that it's disparately in minority in areas, like, and it's like, okay, but it's just different. Like America's the only place I think that has this real, like racism exists, and like there's different, like colonial racism is also a thing, but I think ours is like really specific. And it's like, it's less even about like the way that you feel if you see someone, and it's more about like the place they have in the society as a whole.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. It's no worries. Well, we have about 12 minutes left. I wanted to ask you, based off of your experience, either in life or your music industry experience or your experience on Broadway, are there any gems that you could leave us with for aspiring artists to learn from?
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest, I'm so into this right now, and maybe it's because I'm like, I'm in my 30s now, like, and I don't feel old. I feel like, I don't feel like I'm like have reached my peak necessarily in a way that like people talk about this performance peak that you have in certain sports or like certain lifestyles. And like, I'm not also on a career path that is like gonna lay itself out in this like very specific trajectory, which is like you do this, and like you age and you age. So like my thing is like, don't like buy into the ageism of it all, right? Like you think about even people that we like live for, like Jennifer Lopez, right? Like it's like, right, she's the one example we see all the time. She's 50, but it's like there's a ton of people that are her age or like even probably older that are like crushing it in whatever form that is, and still doing cool stuff. Like Donald Trump is 78, right? Or like, I don't even know how, but he's fucking old. He's like, then regardless of like whatever, that's a whole nother topic. He is up every morning in a suit at a podium walking. Like, you know, like it's like the basic essentials of like things that you get to keep doing. Like, so it's like, don't beat yourself up about like this time thing. Like, yes, like deadlines 1,000%, and like knowing where you want to go or get to, but like don't stress about it having to be done in a certain amount of time, or that like you're going to age out of something or you can't do anything, right? Like obviously if you're going to make some weird music that like is marketed at teenagers when you're like 50, like that's probably like a bit weird. But
just a little bit.
You know, it's like that's like a whole other like conversation as well. But if you're like doing stuff that you like, you can still reach like big milestones like later in life. Like it's just tricky in the beginning because it's like it feels like the people that get the reward or that get like shown or get the like awareness reward is like not the way they want. I meant like that are shown to us. Let's say the people that are shown to us are like the people that are like fresh out of the gate and they just did it and they were only 16 and there's their first album, or like they're 60 and they finally won their lifetime achievement or the Oscar for this role and they've been acting for 50 years. Like we get these like two snapshots. We like completely ignore the between 17 and like 69-year-olds and their lives and what you're capable of doing at any of those ages. So like if it's something you want to do, you'll know, and it's probably going to be like hard and tricky and full of sacrifices, and like this is maybe not the best time to quit your job and like be like, I'm gonna go be a live touring musician. But if it's something you want to do, you have like tons of years to do some version of it. So like lean into that and less about like what you have to win by this certain age or something.
I love that. Is there a way for folks to connect with you after listening to this?
Yeah, for sure. I would say check on the gram, on Instagram. I am Sean Bradford. Sean like Connery, Brad like Pitt, Ford like Harrison Ford. So Sean Bradford. I am Sean Bradford. And yeah, I think from there that's where everything's gonna sort of like blossom out, like the new project and all the stuff I'm working on. I'm also thinking about starting like a producing for vocalists thing.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, it came to me because I was like, oh, I bet a bunch of like singers and stuff would also be like, how the fuck do I would try like want to try to do this. So I'm thinking about starting that as well.
When's your next release?
It's funny, like I don't know. I have 4 tracks that are like in an orbit of releasing, like that are like they're like, oh, these are things that are coming. And then now I'm on this crazy fucking idea to release this EP that I produced. So like, I would say May or June is the next release. Like something's coming. I just like now there's just so many like, oh, but I want to do this now. There's obviously like before you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then the party in New York, then we have this other release. Then we like momentum into summer, and then it's like summer vibes. And then like, but we're not doing that. So
yeah. I know everything's kind of up in the air.
You know what I mean? It's like summer, we're like,
what day is it again?
Yeah. So, but check it out. I'll definitely send you when I make a decision. It would be great to share with you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean. I am so happy that I was able to connect with you.
That was great. Thanks so much for the chat. I feel like I'm gonna go make some good music now.
Yeah, it's alright. We're gonna stay up late.